Buenas, hoy estamos aquí con Marcos, que Marcos hoy va a liderar la entrevista con Nils, que es el fundador de Verge Aero, pero si lo digo bien o no, Marcos, pero...
Verge Aero, me ha dicho que es.
Aero. Vale,
Aero.
perfecto. Es un emprendedor el cual invirtió for Founders y te quería, nada, si que es para hacer la introducción, que nos expliques, Marcos, un poquito, oye, qué es lo que hace Verge Aero y, no sé, sus 4 números y por qué invertimos desde for Founders.
Vale, bueno, Verge Aero es una empresa que ha creado de alguna forma un nuevo mercado, que es el mercado de los espectáculos con drones. Nació en 2016, han estado varios años haciendo desarrollo tecnológico y ellos hacen tanto la producción del dron como el software necesario para poder hacer los espectáculos con los drones. De hecho, son bastante únicos en el mercado. Hay otros competidores que o hacen los drones o hacen la tecnología, pero ellos tomaron esta decisión de hacer un producto holístico y un poco con la estrategia de Apple, que después charlaremos con Nils sobre este tema. Entonces, esta oportunidad nos llegó por un scout y la razón por la que invertimos es una empresa que nosotros, en fase seed, es decir, es una empresa que cuando la estuvimos analizando en el 2021 ya había facturado 4,2 millones y tenía un millón de EBITDA. Es un tipo de empresas que como sabes, nos interesan mucho, estamos poniendo mucho foco en ellas. Y además cumplía con las tesis de inversión que tenemos para empresas de lo que llaman de fase seed. Es una empresa con un equipo fundador espectacular y hoy conoceremos a Nils y podréis ver, es una persona con una experiencia alucinante en lo que es el mundo de la emprendeduría. Tenían un producto con un claro product market fit para generar los espectáculos con los drones, con una ventaja competitiva por el propio producto y por la propia estrategia que estaban siguiendo, una atracción clara, que también es algo fundamental, que como he comentado ya estaban facturando, y además tenían algo que es difícil de ver.
¿Y cuánto cerrarán este año, aprox?
En el 2021 han cerrado en 11 millones y en 2022, perdona, y en 2023 estarán en torno a 25 millones de facturación.
Ok, o sea que nos gustan, nos gustan todo tipo de compañías, las que ganan, las que pierden, pero nos gustan más las que generan EBITDAs en las fases posteriores, ¿no? En las cuales invertimos, pero invertimos en todas. Pero en todo hay que invertir, ¿no, Marcos? O sea, tenemos que tener de todo.
Exacto. O sea, esta empresa cumplía absolutamente todos los criterios, pero obviamente hay empresas que aún no llegan a la rentabilidad, pero se ve un camino clarísimo hacia la rentabilidad y ese tipo de empresas también nos gusta, obviamente.
Oye, ¿qué te iba a decir? ¿Qué es un scout? ¿Vale? ¿Y qué tipo, por dónde nos viene? Que ha dicho, nos trae un scout, pero que en este caso es un contacto de Javier Pestenesa, que Javier Pestenesa pues estuvo en Stanford, ha tenido muchos, pero ¿qué es un scout y cómo nos llegan esas oportunidades?
Un scout para nosotros es alguien que está en nuestra red de contactos, en este caso, y además conoce empresas, está metido dentro del mundo de la emprendeduría y además ha invertido y invierte en empresas. En este caso es un amigo de Javier, él había invertido en la fase pre-seed de esta compañía y en la ronda en la que entramos nosotros, él también invertía. Vio la oportunidad, le gustó, veía que era un proyecto que podía encajar y se lo comentó a Javier y de ahí nace el análisis que hicimos de la compañía y la posterior inversión que hicimos en la compañía.
Oye, pues genial, porque también mostramos un poco que no solo invertimos en compañías PowerPoint, que lo hacemos mucho, que también invertimos en todo tipo de compañías y pues a continuación escucháis ahí la entrevista y lo que nos explica Nils con Marcos. ¿Ok? Genial. Gracias, Marcos.
Gracias a ti. Hasta ahora. Nils, thank you very much for coming here, and it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, and definitely a pleasure to be here.
So, just to make a very, in a nutshell, who Nils is, Nils has an amazing educational and professional background. He studied business administration in Texas. Then he did an MBA in Stanford. And since then, he has been launching companies. He's absolutely a serial entrepreneur. He launched Flying Peaks, and he also launched Elements Lab, both companies on the entertainment arena. He sold an Element Labs to Barco. Then he started Trader. He started to TPG. He did a lot of more projects, and then finally he launched it with 3 other co-founders, Verge Aero, which is the company that we are gonna talk about today. So Nils, going into the first question and starting with some energy, can you explain to us how Verge started from, what Verge is today, and a few numbers so we can make a picture of what Verge is?
Yeah, sure thing. So as you mentioned, I've been a serial entrepreneur. I graduated from Stanford and decided to start companies because I didn't want to take a real job. I wanted to control my own destiny. So off I went, and I started working in the entertainment area, making control systems for concert touring and TV shows and different things like that. And then eventually did an LED company in the same space. And then I thought I was done with entertainment. I got out and was looking for new adventures. And then I saw, after a while, some TED videos of professors flying drones in formation. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. And we need to do this in entertainment. And so I just saw a huge opportunity, but I am not an engineer. So I didn't have the technical skills to make this happen. So I started looking for the right engineers to partner with to actually pursue this opportunity. So after a while, I find these 3 young engineers in Philadelphia who independently were working on a similar problem, but they were very inexperienced because they were straight out of university, had worked for maybe a year or 2, but needed some assistance on how to build a company and how to build the product correctly for this opportunity. So we had a shared vision which came from different places, but we joined forces and started the company about 6 years ago. Spent the first 2 or 3 years purely in development mode, and then launched, of course, right as COVID started happening, which was a really bad time to launch a business in entertainment. Because, as I say, in entertainment, there is no takeout like with a restaurant. There is no halfway house. There is no pivot. There is nothing, It's like either a concert happens or it does not. So it was a pretty tough time for us, but fortunately, we were a low overhead operation to begin with. It was just the founding team. And then once things in the US especially started to loosen, our business took off, and it's just been crazy ever since. And I will say that I've probably worked, this is not my plan, but with this business, I've worked harder than I've ever worked on any business in my life because it just grew so quickly. And it's super fun and exciting what we do. I mean, for those of you who aren't aware, drone shows are a new form of entertainment, and actually with many other possibilities, and we control hundreds of drones simultaneously in flight so that they do interesting things, whether it's patterns and formations or logos or slogans or anything. We have these 3D pixels in the sky that can do anything you want them to do, and we're all about creating the technology to empower people to fly these shows independently.
And that's amazing. Yeah, and Nils, you as in Verge, you have created a lot of drone shows. Can you explain us which are the ones that you feel more proud of? And I know that there has been some of them very, very notorious in the US market. So can you explain about that and how you do that? You develop the drones, you develop the technology, how you do that show?
Yeah, we've had the fortune to do some really significant and amazing work with different people. One of the most notable ones was for President Biden when he celebrated his victory. Wow. And what was really cool is nobody knew it was coming. And so it was a surprise for the whole world. It was not pre-announced, and like literally nobody knew. And we were not even allowed to fly a rehearsal flight, which is just crazy. So when we flew our show for President Biden, it was the first time we had flown drones in that location with the show. And they wouldn't let us rehearse, not even one drone. So it really speaks to the accuracy of our design software and how things in reality turn out to be exactly what you see on the computer screen. So that was an awesome validation of that. But that was a really, groundbreaking moment, because it showed drones in a new setting used together with fireworks to announce this great event. And we got a massive amount of publicity as part of that event. So it was a really good way to launch our business. We also did some work early in COVID. Like, we had this idea to do like a thank you show for all the medical workers, because we were not busy otherwise. And, those videos went viral and got us a lot of attention. And then, of course, we were on the show called America's Got Talent, where we got the golden buzzer from the judge there, Simon Cowell, who is famous for being difficult to please. And so that also went viral. And, these events have been really awesome marketing events for our business and help to make people aware of what's possible with drones.
And Nils, Verge has its own drones and has its own technology. Why did you decide to go into that strategy at that moment? Because you're developing hardware and you're developing software. Why did you decided to go?
Yeah, well, some of these decisions aren't always made up front. For us, we were just really excited about the opportunity and what was possible with drones. But we didn't, when we started the company, necessarily know the best way to execute and what was going to be necessary. So obviously the software for what we do is essential, and that's kind of the core of what we do. And we would have been happy to like buy a DJI drone and just use it to do our drone shows. But the thing is, it's got a camera, which we don't need, and it doesn't have the light, which we do need. So, I guess you could adapt a DJI drone, but it's not the best solution. So ultimately, we realized we just had to do it ourselves to do it correctly, and our thinking evolved to be one of tight hardware software integration. So our philosophy right now is just like Apple with the Macintosh, and having custom software, custom hardware, and having the two work tightly together gives the best overall user experience for us. And in addition, we have a whole safety aspect to what we do. So making sure that the drones actually fly where they're supposed to and don't land on people's heads is critically important. So we ended up doing like everything ourselves. The only thing that's not ours is the autopilot. So it's a really painful way to start a company. Everything takes a lot longer than it would otherwise. But in the end, we control all our own technology. It puts us in a really strong position now that we've actually gone through that painful process, and allows us to tweak everything and make the product perfect. Whereas if we hadn't done that, certain things would not be under our control, and we'd be more limited in terms of what we can do. So
it's very interesting decision at that time. And Nils, as a Verge, you do your own shows, but you mainly sell drones and the technology to fly those drones. Can you explain to us what are your customers and how you identify those customers in a market which is now starting from zero, let's say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is a great example of having, when you start a company, you have to adapt to the situation at hand. So we are fundamentally a technology company. That was our guiding vision. We want to create this technology, and we want to empower other people to fly these shows. But when we were starting, nobody really knew what a drone show was. It was very It was a very new phenomenon. And there were no customers to sell to. There's no market of people who are drone show operators already. We had to create the market. And as a result, then we started doing shows ourselves. So we became a production company as well as a technology company. And so we've continued to be a production company and do the shows and work with end clients that way. But now we are gradually stepping back from that as we build our network of independent providers. And so all that said, even though we didn't really want to be a production company, it was actually incredibly valuable for us from a R&D perspective, market development perspective, forcing my engineers to go out in the field and actually fly the shows themselves actually made them much better engineers afterwards. Their understanding of customer needs and what the product needed to do. What we gained from doing those shows was invaluable. So there's that saying with investors, make them eat their own dog food. Okay, that's exactly what we did. So we went out and started creating some of our own customers, and then people would hear about what we were doing and they reached out to us. So social media is very important. People seeing this happening and then being motivated to do it themselves was our most effective marketing. But it's very tricky in a new field like this where people aren't even familiar with the concept. We can't just go out and advertise, get into the drone show business when people don't even know what a drone show is. Now, that's changing and it's a little bit different today, but in the beginning, it was a very different challenge.
And you have different kind of customers. So you have big customers coming mainly from the fireworks, but you also have customers which are people that they are starting the new business with the drone shows. Are there any example of this kind of people, and how do you see the market is going to evolve? How it's a new market, and there is a lot of room for new opportunities. Are there those opportunities in the indoor field? Are those opportunities in the marketing field? How do you see that?
Yeah, there are many opportunities. I mean, we have a new technology that is still in the very early days. I think we're still in the Model T era, if you think about it from a car perspective, okay? Very, very beginning. And people are going to figure out new ways to use the drones, come up with different use cases and applications. And I firmly believe that we've only really just started with this. So we get customers from all kinds of different places. I mean, we have like big companies that have invested in systems, and we have a retired couple that took their life savings and they bought a fleet of drones, and they are now doing drone shows in California, and they have a really healthy business. They even put on their own shows and bring out food trucks and sell tickets and produce their own events. It's amazing. I love these people, and I think it really it shows the possibilities that are in front of us with this technology.
Yeah, it looks amazing. So they have found a new way to develop their career after retiring. So it's amazing. So Nils, let's move into the future. So let's take your crystal ball, and there is a lot of talking on drones. There are a lot of news on drones. We have heard about Amazon, which is going to be delivering through drones. We have heard about personal drones that make people go from flying from A to B. How do you see the drones changing our lives? What do you see in the coming years? The drones really are gonna change our lives or not? Maybe we are talking about too much drones, but they are not gonna change our lives.
I think we're at a really exciting time right now. There is a lot of activity in the mobility space, and things are actually happening. It's not science fiction. It's not like nuclear fusion, one day all the power will be, limitless. This stuff is real. I mean, today Walmart is using drones to deliver from their stores. Okay. There's a company called Zipline that started up in Africa delivering medicines. Okay. They now deliver product from Walmart. It parachutes into your backyard and you can look on an app when the drone is coming. I mean, so these things are happening. Some will be successful and some won't. I mean, there are many things that can go wrong, and maintaining safety is always really important. And in urban environments, it's especially difficult. You look at the personal mobility aircraft. I mean, those things are starting to happen. Their range is more limited, but there is a lot of effort going into this field, and amazing things are happening, and it will definitely start to change our lives in the coming years. But exactly which ones are the winners and the losers is harder to predict. But we have a really nicely diversified portfolio of different technologies and people working really hard on this, and we're now starting to see those results.
There is a huge future in front of us, so let's see how things are going to change. But I'm absolutely sure, I agree with you that there is going to be a lot of changes around the drones.
But I also think, I mean, just to follow up on that a little bit, I think it's more about like robotics in general, okay? And I actually think about our company as more of a robotics company, an IoT company. It's not just a drone company. The technology we've developed is robotics and IoT. And with delivery, I mean, you may have drones in the air, but you may have lots of drones on the ground. And maybe it turns out that drones on the ground, autonomous vehicles of different kinds are much better ways of getting things to people at their homes and whatnot. And I once heard this guy had a great quote, we don't need 2 tons of metal to deliver, a half a kilo burrito or whatever, right? I mean, it's you look at how transportation happens today, it is phenomenally inefficient on every front. And there is so much opportunity to rationalize that through automation and automated vehicles of all kinds.
Yeah, probably we'll see that those autonomous vehicles together with the drones, there will be probably a mix. But there are a lot of testing around the world on that. Probably we will see in the coming years a big change on that. Nils, going back into Verge after our chat on the crystal ball and about the future of drones, there is something that for me it's quite interesting, and I would like to know your thought on that. Verge was founded by 4 co-founders. 3 of them, they were first-time co-founders. They were young, they were excellent and super smart, and you had a lot of you had a lot of experience, entrepreneurial experience and background. How did you do in order to get the best of you 4, given that differences in experience and on how to develop a startup?
Yeah, so I mean, team composition is really important when starting a new business. And I'm a big believer in teams. I like having other people with different skills. And in my experience, having complementary skills and people with different points of view is really, really important, because one of the worst situations a business can have is if you have a team of 3 or 4 or whatever, and everybody thinks the same way, it's really bad. That's how bad decisions are made. And the best decisions are made when there is conflict, positive conflict, but you have different ways of viewing the world and viewing the problem and different solutions. And out of that conflict comes a much better solution than any one person could come up with on their own. I'm a strong believer in that. And my team at Verge is very much like that. We have four completely different viewpoints. I mean, in the beginning, you have me, I'm the old guy. I've done this many times before. I'm just excited about this technology, and I love working with a young team full of energy. To me, that brings me joy, and I think it's fun and fulfilling, even if I am working harder than I really want to be working. But, you just got to do what you have to do. And then with them, those three guys, they have three different points of view. Like, one is super cheap and one likes to spend lots of money. And then the third is kind of in the middle and very, very thoughtful about everything. One is very conservative. One is always super optimistic. And then the other is kind of in the middle and very balanced, right? So having those different viewpoints is very healthy and results in better decisions, better strategy, better everything, in my opinion.
And Nils, you have done a lot of startups. Do you think that mixing young people, first-time entrepreneurs, with people that have experience on this field, it's sort of the secret sauce of success, or there are so many other points that are important into that?
Well, I think there are a lot of things that are important. I mean, in this case, yeah, it's absolutely part of the success. Those guys could not have done it without me, and I could not have done it without them. I mean, it's symbiotic, right? We have exchanged skills and whatnot, right? So in this case, it's been critical to the success of the business. I mean, I'm sure maybe in other situations that it would be different, and I'm too old. I mean, like, I'm ancient in Silicon Valley. I'm a dinosaur, I'm in my 50s.
I don't think so.
I mean, it's amazing. Companies are started by people in their early 20s. They understand what's going on. So, maybe I have nothing to add there. So I think each situation is different, but in general, I think diversity is good on every front. Having diverse people with diverse backgrounds, diverse perspectives, always or almost always helps build a better company for the long term. Okay, that's not to say maybe tactically in some situations having people who are thinking exactly the same way and completely in alignment can help execute on a specific problem. But I think more for long-term success, diversity is essential.
Thank you very much for that, because I think it's a great learning for all of us, those who are listening to that podcast, to think on that, to think on diversity and different ways to think on as a way to improve your startup and to perform properly. And I think that's we're running out of time, so this is gonna be my last question. Nils, how do you see Verge in 5 years' time? How do you see the company is going to be? How do you see the market, the drone show market is going to be?
Yeah, I think 5 years gives us enough time to complete our initial vision. What's really interesting about this company is we have not done any pivots. Okay, like the basic idea we started with is still the same idea we have today. It's turned out to be valid. People love this technology. They love seeing the shows. What we didn't know in the beginning was exactly what was the business model going to be like, and given the regulatory aspects and needing aviation authority compliance, that was always a big question mark. But as it turns out, this business isn't really all that much different than any other business in the entertainment space. So we still have a long way to go. We have laid a very solid foundation, and we need another 5 years to execute on the vision and do everything that we are thinking about. And that will grow the business significantly and help us get drone shows everywhere. We want to see drone shows all over the world in all kinds of places. And we want to make it easy for people to use this technology safely. And that's at least going to take us another 4 or 5 years. And from that point forward, I mean, who knows? We'll move in some other direction in robotics, and we'll figure that out at some point down the road.
That's great. Thank you very much, Nils. Thank you very much for being with us. Before saying bye, I would recommend everybody that is listening this podcast to go into YouTube and watch a drone show from Verge. I can tell you that they are amazing and they really take you a wow effect when you see them. So that would be my last suggestion before ending with this amazing interview with Nils. So Nils, thank you very much for being here with us. We wish you a lot of success. I'm sure you don't need that. You have a lot of knowledge on how to perform properly. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you again soon.
Okay, thank you for having me. Lovely to chat with you.